Tonight is one of the darkest nights of the year, not only because the days are growing shorter and the nights are growing longer, but also because this Shabbat is Rosh Chodesh Tevet, meaning the new moon is out with just a small sliver of light. The moonlight is almost entirely covered in shadow. And so the only natural light this night are the few stars that we can find through the clouds and the city lights of Toronto. So we delight in these Hanukkah candles and we delight in these Shabbat candles. We delight in the light that we create with one another, for one another in sacred community. We delight in the light that we create by our songful prayers tonight. It is customary to tell stories when the Hanukkah candles are burning. So here is one based on a story attributed to the Baal Shem Tov, who lived more than 200 years ago. The Baal Shem Tov was the founder of Hasidism, which was in part a human response to darkness. In a dark and cold corner of Eastern Europe, the Baal Shem Tov insisted on light. In a time and place where hunger and poverty and illness were widespread, the Baal Shem Tov insisted on joy. In an environment where life was uncertain and hatred and violence could be sparked without warning, the Baal Shem Tov insisted on faith. He insisted on spiritual courage to fight back the unpredictabilities of life. His stories were famous for lifting the spirits of the people and giving them hope. So this is one of those stories, with a little adaptation, here and there. There once was a man whose home was threatened by darkness. He went to the rabbi for advice. The rabbi asked the man, "Do you have a broom in your house?" "Of course," answered the man. "Very good. I want you to go home and sweep away the darkness from every corner." So the man went home, took up his broom, and fearlessly went down into the gloomy cellar. And he went up to the fear-filled corners of his attic. And he swept with all his might. And once the home was swept from top to bottom, he went to sleep. But the next day, the darkness loomed over the house just the same. And so the man returned to the rabbi for guidance. The rabbi said, "It's my turn now." The rabbi took up her walking stick, marched to the man's house, and used the stick to beat down the darkness. The rabbi swung that stick to the north and to the south, to the east and to the west, and with all her might, with heavy blows, until the rabbi exhausted herself by the effort. And so she wished the man well and a good night. But the next day, the darkness still threatened the man who lived inside. And so he went to see the rabbi. "We're going to need more help," said the rabbi. "Gather all your family together from near and far and have them come into your home, and this time let them shout against the darkness." The man looked skeptical. But the rabbi insisted, "Yes, you have to yell at the darkness, command it to leave you." And so the family came from far and wide, and they raised their voices with a great cry. But nevertheless, you guessed it, the next day, the darkness still persisted. When the man returned to the rabbi, both were feeling a little dispirited. And so the rabbi said, "Come, let's pray together a bit." Until through their prayers, one more idea emerged. "Tonight," said the rabbi, with a new surge of energy, "be prepared to see all the people of the village gather around your home." The rabbi put out the call. As swiftly as social media, everyone came, young and old, people who were known to the man and people who were neighbors, but they had never met before. And according to the rabbi's instruction, everyone came with a single unlit candle. On cue, the man struck a match and lit the first thin candle, which then lit the next, which lit the next, and the next, and the next, until finally that darkness vanished for good. It takes more than a village to banish the darkness of the fear of this plague. It takes more than a village to banish the darkness of the loneliness and isolation that many of us have known. These nearly 2 years, God help us. It takes more than a village to banish the darkness of injustice and cruelty, which has been simmering throughout the pandemic as well. To banish darkness requires human innovation, human initiative, tenacity, compassion, and a lot of love. Together with God's blessing, it requires drawing closer to one another safely as best we can, using every technological tool we can. And when we gather as we are tonight, a sacred community, face-to-face and online, we see that each one of us is created in the image of God, and each one of us is a light that cannot go out. May our devotions tonight bring this corner of this weary world to a greater and lasting light. And together we say, Amen.